You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.
It's a very special edition of the Dan Nicholl Show this week, not just because it is the 1 year anniversary since we said goodbye to the screens and jumped into the world of podcasting, a format I feel I've pioneered really. I don't think there were any podcasts before I started mine, but also because we're at the Alfred Dunhill Padel Championship and my very special guest is an old friend of mine, somebody as a small child I used to watch on television as he caressed deliveries through the cover boundaries, or did at least until Dale Steyn came on. A very warm welcome, Michael Vaughan.
I was doing all right until you mentioned Dale Steyn.
Does he still give you shivers and nightmares?
Oh, I see him around because he's doing a bit of commentary now, so I always, I generally always go and give him my off stump back. Because on many occasions he used to kind of run in, bowl a bit wide of the crease, angle it into a round leg stump, take it away, and my off stump was taken out the ground. But yeah, it's always funny that the home of cricket, Lords, is a venue that is very close to my heart. And every year it's my birthday and they seem to play the delivery that Dale Steyn bowled to knock my off stump out the ground. So yeah, thank you for reminding me about Dale Steyn.
It was one minor aberration in an extraordinary career. It feels in many ways just like yesterday that you were still dispatching attacks around the world, but you've had time to sit back. Do you still miss the cricket a lot? Is there still a cricket-sized gap in the life of Michael Vaughan?
No, in terms of playing, absolutely not. I couldn't actually think of anything worse than going on a cricket field, and particularly fielding. I wouldn't mind having a bat against spin, but particularly not pace at the age of 50. But being in the field was pretty much what saw me off in the end. I've actually had 16 years being a broadcaster, and I look back and think I'm getting very close to being in broadcast more than I was as a player, and still people remind me of my playing days, which is kind of the norm. But I absolutely adore watching cricket. I adore watching all sport, you know, whether it's football, whether it's golf, whether it's paddle tennis now. I'm pretty much a sports tragic, but I really do love watching cricket. You know, and that's either being a commentator, going to watch my mate's young under-11s team. Archie now is coming through the system, my son. That's quite nerve-wracking watching your son play cricket, but I generally just love sitting down and talking about the game, giving my opinion on the game, but I get a huge amount of joy of watching people play well.
I wanted to ask you about Archie. My son Aidan is a stalwart of the old Eds under-9s, not quite at the level of young Archie Vaughan. It's quite an interesting dynamic because you are, in Archie's case, the son of one of the England greats, and you as a dad are both this really proud father, but also someone who's still got a lot of sway in the cricket establishment. How do you balance that father versus the legend space on both sides?
Oh, it's we're the family have tried to just let him get on with it. He's completely a cricket enthusiast, and he has been since he was like 2 or 3 years of age. He's always had a bat, he's always wanted to watch the game. I guess the modern way is on a tablet. You know, he's always on his phone watching cricket, and any clips that you know, get posted on X or on Instagram, or I guess on TikTok for the younger generation. So that's what I really admire about him. He's a cricket tragic. You know, he really loves the game and he's having a go. He's done great so far. He's taken it on himself to you know, really work it out for himself. I generally am just a dad. You know, I try to be the father to him rather than I don't want to be his coach. I think we'd fall out too easily. And he's looked after by a really good group of people, not just the players, but the staff down at Somerset have been great to him. But he's only young. And he's learning all the time, and that's the only thing I ever say to any young player is that you never fail when you're young. You know, you only learn, and if you fail, it's not a failure. It's just that you've learned something from that day out that's not quite gone as you would have liked. And I guess the hardest thing for all young sports people to deal with is they all want things desperately quickly. You know, there's not much patience in the world today, and they want to be great today. You know, and it takes a long time to become experience, to have that know-how how to play a sport, and he's in that bracket, so it's trying to tell him to be patient and just enjoy it. I just want him to smile and enjoy the game.
It's a fantastic philosophy, and I'm really glad to hear that. There are a few parents in my son's football team who could do with similar advice. I don't think you would have time to coach Archie, though, even if you wanted to, because your life seems to be split into two very distinct activities outside of broadcasting: annoying Indian cricket fans on social media, which you're very good at, and playing paddle. You have become utterly besotted. I think there was one day 2 weeks ago I counted 8 paddle-related posts between X and Instagram. You love this game.
Yeah, I do. You add golf into that, so there's 3 things I absolutely adore. Oh, I just think it's. I've not met anybody yet that I've introduced to paddle that within a week or two hasn't become addicted. You know, it just seems to be, and it's such an inclusive game. It's such a diverse game. It's a game for everyone. I guess the underarm serve. You would hope most people that can hit a ball can underarm serve. I mean, tennis is a great game, but the start, the serve is the hardest aspect. You know, and I've been on a court with my 14-year-old daughter. My 80-year-old mother has kind of wobbled onto the court and had a game with us.
And beat you, I believe.
Yeah, should have beaten me, yeah. But I think that's why it's such a great game. And obviously an event like this here at the Hurlingham Club, there are some tremendous players. And we think we're okay, and then suddenly the pros arrive and you go, oh God, yeah, we're nowhere near what we think we are. But it's great. And this week's been, once again, the second Alfred Dunhill tournament here at the Hurlingham Club. And you always judge tournaments and events, do they get bigger? And this year it's grown in legs from last year, which is tremendous.
It's an event that has brought together a lot of familiar faces, and that's one of the cool elements of your paddle world. You've, for instance, got this great friendship with Tiago, who in a normal world you would know, well, what are Michael Vaughan and Tiago doing? But yeah, these great paddle mates.
Well, it's you know, where we live is near Manchester, and there's a lot of football teams around that area, and all the footballers are playing paddle. You know, like the cricketers, they're all very obsessed by this sport. So you end up playing with so many different people. You know, if you look at Liverpool's training ground, Jurgen Klopp put a paddle court in. Pep Guardiola at Man City put a paddle court in. So that kind of European influence into the UK is not just having an influence on football, they're having an influence on paddle tennis. So yeah, Tiago is a player. He's so competitive. And such a mover, very similar to when he was in midfield. He could just, he sees the ball before the ball reaches him. He's got a natural ability to just assess what's going to happen. So yeah, it's amazing, and you become great friends. You know, it's a sport where we don't think we've ever mentioned cricket. We very rarely mention football. We just like paddle tragics, talking about the Vibra. Me and Tiago talking about the Vibra. But it was great last night. We went to a restaurant in Chelsea. And Tiago got out of a taxi, and there's 3 or 4 black cab drivers driving by, and all the Tiago. So he still gets a huge amount of attention.
Did they then follow it up with Vaughan?
No, they were like, who's he? Who's he with? Who's that idiot? Yeah, so it's great.
The event this week is not just loads of fun, it's also for a great cause, and that's where you and I have another space in common, the work we get to do with the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation. You've done so much for Laureus, and I know it's a really passionate part of who you are and what you do. And amongst the adventures you've had with Laureus, you got dragged off to Mount Everest and had to spend 4 days hiking through the snow.
Yeah, and you went on a nice trek through South Africa last year. The Laureus Sports for Good Foundation for many years has been doing so much to change young people's lives that necessarily aren't as privileged or get the opportunities like certainly I have had in my life. And I know through sport that it has it has an amazing ability to release people from strain. It releases people from I look here in London, there's so many young people that are getting dragged into gangs. We know the uprise in terms of knife crime, particularly here in the state of London, that you're kind of looking at and thinking we need to do something about it. And there's so many projects that Laureus back which is trying to give the kids a chance to get out of that gang and join a sporting gang. That's all I ever say to young people is, look, sport is the greatest way to become disciplined in your life. It's the greatest way to become really close friends with people, and it's a great way to occupy your time. And I think that's the biggest thing that we need to really look after in the new young generation, is that they seem to have a lot of time and they're not quite sure what to do with it. And sport is a great way of filling that time and also giving them great disciplines in life. And I look at 20 years of playing cricket and the disciplines that I learnt from being in a team, the disciplines of having to be there on time. You have to wear uniform at times, and of course you have the odd blip and you have the odd failure, you have the odd disappointment and you don't behave right all the time, but you learn from it in all your life, and sport gave me that kind of discipline for what I've achieved after my playing days. And so many projects at Laureus back globally give young kids that necessarily don't have that kind of levelling and that background the opportunity to get into sport, which is great.
Well, thank you for the work that you do, because I know you're a fabulous champion of sport for good. I did open with some unfortunate memories and recollections of off stumps cartwheeling and a grinning Dale Steyn. So let me give the opportunity to look back on some slightly more memorable moments. We as fans have our own great Michael Vaughan moments. They normally involve a cover drive and a raising of the bat, unless of course it was against South Africa. What for you though, when you look back across what was a fabulous career, was there a particular game, an innings, a result that has great fondness for you when you think back?
I just think I look back. I mean, the friendships that you create, and that's not just with the teammates that I play with. It's the opposition teammates. I look at the Australian side that with the arch enemy back in the day. But the likes of Adam Gilchrist, the late great Shane Warne and Ricky Ponting, they're now great mates. And you don't get to become great mates with anybody without respect. And that respect on both sides was always there. I guess the 05 Ashes series, I mean, we're 20 years on. That was the pinnacle for me as a player and as a captain. And the reason why I say that, it's not we won, so obviously it's great to beat Australia, but it's kind of now that I understand what impact it had. The amount of like 30-year-olds now that come to me and say I was 10 in 05 and I got into cricket because of that series, and not because of me, because of the way that both sides played, and I guess the drama of every single game. And I guess in England it helps that you lift the Ashes at the end of it, and people get more attached to winning teams. But it's the fact that we seem to have changed a little bit of a generational thought process about the game of cricket, which for me it's what it's all about.
On that note, final one for you. We're here at the Alfred Dunhill Padel Championship. You have a cricketing quartet. You are one of the four. Who are the other three cricketers, dead or alive, who, for whatever reason, you get to have that day on the court with and a few beers with afterwards?
I'll mention two, unfortunately, that we lost. Andrew Simons, great character. Shane Warne would be absolutely on the court. And I have to say, I'd take my son with me. I'd have Archie with me as a partner playing those two. I think it'd be a great contest and would have a lot of fun afterwards.
It would be really special. Vaughanie, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the paddle this weekend, and enjoy what I think is probably the last year, maybe 18 months you've got of being Michael Vaughan, the cricketer, because I think after that it's, that's Archie Vaughan's dad, isn't it?
I hope so. I hope so. That'd be great.
There we go. A very good friend to me for many years now, a very special guest on the 1-year anniversary edition of the Dan Nicholl Show from the Alfred Dunhill Padel Championship, happening here at the Hurlingham Club in support of the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation. It's Michael Vaughan, the highlight of his year on the Dan Nicholl Show.
You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.